Some Seahawks news to get into. Carlos Dunlap, well, it appears, at least for now, his time is done with the Seattle Seahawks. Not a day after there was a report, which was later backtracked, by the way, that the Seahawks and Dunlap were in communication about an extension. The Seahawks have chosen to release Dunlap. He had a non-guaranteed salary worth just under $14.1 million. Seattle was not going to give Dunlap that amount of money, and $3 million of that was set to guarantee 5 days after the start of the new league year. So there were some timing issues there. What Seattle is hopeful here, and that does not mean it will happen, but they are hopeful to bring back Dunlap at a cheaper cost. That's why they had some interest, apparently, in an extension of some type. Seattle was not going to pay Dunlap $14 million, as good as he was last year. But if the market isn't what he thinks it's going to be, they would love to bring him back at a cheaper cost, because when Dunlap came over from the Cincinnati Bengals in exchange for B.J. Finney and a 7th-round pick, which, frankly, I thought was the best trade deadline deal we had last year, because the Bengals have already cut B.J. Finney themselves because apparently he was never in shape in time for the season. So for Dunlap to come over, the impact he gave to the Seahawks defense, it was not a coincidence that once he got there, everybody else in the defense had a little bit more success. And that unit went from being pretty bad to, you know what, they actually played really well down the stretch. So the goal here for Seattle is to find a way to bring back Carlos Dunlap. They are hoping that he goes into the open market and finds that the interest isn't quite what he wants, and he ends up coming back to Seattle on a reduced salary deal. So will that happen? Make your predictions for me in the comments section. Y for yes, or type in N for no. Now, in terms of what this means for Seattle without Carlos Dunlap, things are a little bit dicey at that defensive end spot. Now, LJ Collier, Rasheem Green both have some inside-outside flexibility. At some level, Jonathan Bullard does as well, but he's not very good. Benson Mayowa was their number 2 pass rusher this past season, and he's a free agent as well. Demontre Moore, who played kind of a bit role, a rotation piece, is a free agent as well. So that leaves Rasheem Green, LJ Collier, Alton Robinson, a rookie from Syracuse who flashed, and then Darrell Taylor, who we'll get to in a second. The Seahawks this past season, Dunlap played like half the games for this team and was still top 4 on this team in sacks. It's not a coincidence, by the way, that once Dunlap came over, all of a sudden Jarran Reed started to play a little bit better. It's all interconnected, right? Robinson had a couple nice games, flashed a little bit. I don't know if he's a full-time starter on the outside. Maybe he's more of a rotation piece. But at least he showed something. That is significant for an organization that kind of thought they figured out their edge rushing need when they took Darrell Taylor in round 2 out of Tennessee, moving up in the process to secure him. And then Taylor had a leg issue the entire year and never actually saw the field. He wasn't part of the team in reality. He made no impact. He missed the entire season. So I think for Seattle, you're hoping Taylor can be one of your options at defensive end this upcoming season. If you had brought back Dunlap, you would have felt better about using Darrell Taylor and having to solely bank on him. Without Dunlap, with Benson Mayowa a free agent as well, and leaving Taylor and Robinson and Green and Collier, I think pass rusher is a major need for this team. I mean, cornerback's a huge need because you're losing your top 2 guys. Potentially, they're both free agents. Offensive line, the interior, also a big-time need. So rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being it's not a need whatsoever. Taylor's going to be a superstar the minute he steps on the field. 10 being you're freaking out and you want Seattle to go spend big money or add a big-time player. How big, let me know in the comments, do you think this team's need is at pass rusher? Manscaped.com/chat. When you head over there, you will save 20% off and get free shipping. They are the sponsor of today's video. You can get the Lawnmower 3.0. It's the #1 men's grooming tool out there. Don't just ask me, ask my wife, ask producer Sam's girl. She told me how much she appreciates it when I use it. Manscaped.com/chat. 20% off and free shipping. Producer Sam not happy with me, but sorry I had to find out this way, buddy. What this allows, it allows you to use it in the shower. It doesn't cut or pull your hair. It's a very smooth process down there, but it does help you get a little tug or pull later on if you catch my not-so-subtle drift. If you get the perfect package, by the way, you can get the most comfortable boxers known to mankind. I love them. They're worth the price of admission alone. A handy-dandy traveling carrying case as well. All their great products, not limited to just this stuff, by the way, folks, are available at manscaped.com/chat. When you use that link, it'll be in the comments, it'll be in the description as well. You will get 20% off and you'll get free shipping on everything Manscaped related. Now for Seattle, we will do a more in-depth look at some potential Carlos Dunlap replacements in the not too distant future. Couple names I wanted to throw out there since I figured many of you guys would ask. Free agency first. Yannick Ngakoue might be a bit expensive, but they were linked to him around this time last year, or I should say after the draft last year. His teammate Tyus Bowser could be a bit of a buy low, cheaper option. Melvin Ingram, Justin Houston, older players, but they do fit kind of that almost Leo-style role. And then I also want to make specific note of Aldon Smith here, because Aldon Smith was a player the Seahawks tried to trade for at the trade deadline. When they settled on Carlos Dunlap, they called the Cowboys about Smith. And I would venture to say there will still be interest around Smith this upcoming free agency cycle. The draft, meanwhile, a little bit tougher to know exactly who's going to be there in that back end of round 2. Couple names I'll throw out there who I think might be there. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys goes earlier and somebody slides. Ronnie Perkins from Oklahoma, he fits more of that stand-up edge type of role. Carlos Basham fits what Seattle has liked for years. He is in that LJ Collier. He is in that Rasheem Green mold where he's a defensive end, but you can kick him inside on some passing downs too. Rashad Weaver from Pitt and his teammate Patrick Jones if you want to. Quincy Roche, far more likely to be there at this stage for Seattle than, say, his teammates, or I should say a kind of former teammates, and Gregory Rousseau, given the transfer timing for Roche, and also Jalen Phillips. And then Joe Tryon from Washington, who I'm not sold on, but I think the NFL likes at least a little bit. So Dunlap's release, it's kind of a big deal for the Seahawks. It does free up that $14 million base salary, all while opening up a significant hole at the edge rusher spot. So we'll see what Seattle ends up doing here. They're going to try to bring back Dunlap, a move that I think makes a lot of sense for them as an organization. They might not be able to do that, though. There is no guarantee that Dunlap doesn't find the money he wants somewhere in free agency. One team I'll throw out there, how about Jacksonville? How about an Urban Meyer reunion as that team looks to add some more reliable pass rush help? So we'll see what ends up happening in terms of Carlos Dunlap's future with Seattle, who might end up trying to find his way back in Seattle. Now, if you guys want more Seahawks videos, we have a Seahawks-only YouTube channel, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. If you want to stay in the know on what's going on around Seattle, hit that big red button and subscribe today.